Today, we're going to be talking about sound modules. You want to dive into this?
Yeah, let's do this.
Oh, it's so fun.
I'm Mike Nimmix.
And I'm Mike Dow. And this is Mike's on Mics.
Mike's on Mics, yeah.
Last time I asked you what was the next kind of thing you tackled to, decode in your equipment and gear after the sequencer, and you, without hesitation, said definitely the module, the U-220, which you've got in front of you right now. So
yeah, this thing right there.
Tell me about this sucker, how you acquired it, and what you used it for, and then let's get in and do some things with it.
I acquired it by making a deal with my dad. Hey, Dad, I'll dig ditches for you for building your garage if you'll buy me some gear. So this was part of a big purchase of that. I had my friend William who was getting rid of, it was an Akai D50, the A-frame stand that held those two things, and the MC300, the sequencer. And then there was a little rolling rack that, had things sort of at an angle. And the top of the rack was an ART, a digital signal processor. And then the U-220 was underneath that. And then there was a Korg 12-channel kind of line mixer. And then an audio Centron amplifier. I think there may have been a Rain EQ with like dual 15 band, 2 channels of equalization or something like that. And then 2 PV amps. And of course the lightning globe, whatever that was, the equivalent of...
the plasma ball.
Plasma ball. Yeah. And then a couple mics, and the mics did plug into the line mixer, but I had the little impedance matchers on them to make them 1/4 inch from XLR, and one was an audio. They were both Audio Technica, and like a mic stand. Oh, I forgot. Those organ pedals?
An octave in wood?
Right.
What you're talking about?
Right. So Korg made one, and he had one of those because the guy I bought it from was like, he was a bass player and wanted to be like Geddy Lee. And so evidently Geddy Lee, this is what he does on stage. He has one of those. And
they use them for triggering synths or to play bass sounds while he's playing the keyboards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I had one of those. I think it's gone. I think it disappeared to time.
It is no more.
Well, I never used it. I never used it. It just seemed weird.
It's a cool addition. It's fun to watch somebody use one, mm-hmm. But personally, I'm like, it would not do anything. I would never use it. So
that's how I acquired it, and then immediately after getting it home, the usefulness of it was the fact that it was multitimbral. You send it multiple MIDI channels, and it would play different sounds on each MIDI channel.
The U-220.
The U-220, yes.
Okay.
And this is the U-220. So just by looking at the front of it, there's a patch name, P01, and then I named it Mike's on Mics. And then this over here is just, I guess, I don't know, a memory register of some kind. I'm not sure why we got to say 001 again. And then this is the receiving channels, right? Everything in here, you have 6 parts that receive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then Roland considers the rhythm part, MIDI channel 10, as its own part. And I guess the way that they do things, they just figure they don't want to count parts, rhythm as a part. I don't know. But so if I send MIDI channel 1 out of my Korg through my Roland MC300 sequencer and out to the U-220, it's receiving, whenever I play that chord, then part number 1, which is assigned MIDI channel 1 right now, it makes a little note and lets you know, hey, I got something, and let me play this for you. So it was pretty neat to be able to go through and just play all the things that you wanted to play. So like if I move on over to MIDI channel 2, I got an upright bass, right? And I can go to MIDI channel 3. That's electric piano, I think. And then this is MIDI channel 4, bells.
Nice.
And then we got electric guitar. Fun stuff. And then we have slap bass. So how do I know that? How do I know what these sounds are? Well, if you go to the little arrow over here that says parts, you can press to the right. I don't know if you can see it, but kind of
a piano.
Yeah, and there's a little underline that happened under part 1 right there.
Okay.
So that's how you know that a piano is on
assigned.
Part 1. Yeah, and so if I jump all the way to 6, where whoops.
Is that pressing part 5 more times?
Yeah, press it and press it and press it and press it. Slap 1. Yep.
So I see the underscore under 6, and when you play it, we get a note on that location.
That's right. And so if I needed to change 6 to something else, now that it has got the underscore under it, if I use the value up and down, if I go down now, see that's a messed up. There's my electric guitar. Like I could play electric guitar on 6 now. Or I could go up to one that I've fixed, which is synth bass. Let's do that one, 54. Right. So that's how you change those. You have 128 of those. See how it says T-54 right there? That's your timbre for that part.
Okay.
So you have 128 of those to choose from, and you can change those 128, their attack, their the envelope, that's what that's called. Sustain and decay, and whatever R is, I've forgotten.
Release,
there you go.
ADSR,
there you go. See, you know this stuff. I don't very well. You can do tuning on each one. You can detune it, have it modulate. You can mess with the sound so that each one is sort of its own, right? Because Roland didn't go 1-to-1, right? They didn't just say a piano 1 is a piano 1, you know. They would take a piano 2 and make it 1, and the next 2 or 3, and they would change it with the envelope and with detuning and stuff like that, in hopes that you would dig around and find the rest. Also, I just want to let me point something out. So if you look at the manual and you look at so these are all the regular parts, all the way up to drums. Well, that doesn't really help you with drums to just say 128 drums. Internal 128 drums, sure. These are all internal. Wait a second. That says 2-02 Latin tambourine. What this means is you have to have the Latin 2 card.
Yeah, in the PCM slot.
In the PCM slot to get a tambourine. You don't get it. And it's not just one, but look at all these, man. Oh, did you want bongos and congas? And you got to come spend some money, baby. Yeah.
There they are.
Yeah. It was just, I remember seeing that and going, you mother effers. I just got this U-220. I don't, you know.
Well, why wouldn't you get the PCM card?
Why? Do you think I'm made of money? What's wrong with you? Yeah.
You should just dig another ditch.
Yeah, well, I got to tell you, man, when I dug that ditch, I was in the best shape of my life. I got a picture. My brother came out, took a picture of me digging that ditch, and I look pretty good. Probably best shape I was in my whole life. Yeah.
Buy you a shovel.
Right. Let's see. What else can we talk about this thing?
So talk about the effects. I know there's some onboard effects.
Right.
I'm seeing 2 buttons there.
Okay, so the jump to, let me go back to the patch so that we're starting from scratch. And I'm going to jump to, I think you hit the jump button, and we'll jump to chorus. All right, so now we're affecting the chorus, and it's like, okay, I have chorus 1, I've got chorus 2, feedback chorus, flanger, short delay, all this stuff. So you got a lot of things to choose from. If I jump to reverb, I have hall 1 and all the halls. Let's see, hall 2, gate, cross delay, whatever, delay. So all that. Okay, great. Let me go over just to see what else you got. Yeah, you've got your levels and your delay feedback and all that stuff. Okay, so that's kind of your normal, what you expect from all the things. Here's the deal. In this patch that we have, you can assign, it's sort of the internal mixer, you can assign whether there's reverb on certain parts or not. So what part am I on? Okay, I'm on 6. I'm going to go back to piano because everybody knows piano. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so let me go to the part of piano, and I'm going to, let's see, I think it's under edit. I kind of have to dig for it. I think it may be under patch, part, output. There we go. Okay, so this part 1, are you going to assign reverb to it, or are you going to assign chorus to it? Or is it going to be a direct out 2 or 1 out of the back, or is it going to be dry? So this is dry. This is reverb. And this is chorus. And then those we probably can't hear. Oh, we can. Fun. So we'll probably leave that on reverb because that's sort of what you would do there. And then you got a pan, right? And I can put this all the way to the right. Oh, or random. So it sort of pans randomly. All the way to the left. Yeah, and so these were all jacked up in the whenever it was messed up too. So if I go over, and then this was where the level was all the way down. Ooh, pro tip for people using U-220s. If you want to scroll down, you can hold down that, and it goes pretty quick. But if you start going down and then press the other button, it like goes way fast. So if I want to go all the way up to 127, I just start pressing up, and then I kick into hyper speed, and there you go. So that was very useful for renaming. It works all the way across all the things. So I did that. Is that clear as mud? You go to the part, and you go to the output, and then you say, this part's going to get reverb, this part's going to get chorus, but you're not going to get both on one part. And
is there a delay or anything else?
Yeah, it had delay. So like, let's say, let's get into it, right? Get into it, man. You know. Let me try an effect, and I'm going to say that the reverb is actually going to be. Let me make it. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
And then,
so is it okay? That's delay time.
Yeah, and then here's the level. Let's go up. So that's very loud. But then we'll do feedback, which is how many times it delays. Let's go a lot.
Right.
Forever. All right.
And then, is there a maybe that's time tempo where you can change the speed.
So so if I can go up to 31, which is not a very long delay. So if I go down to half of that, let's say 16, 15.
Okay. Gotcha.
And then now we can play with the other things like cross delay. Well, getting nothing from that. All the way up. It's a little gatey, sure. Delay, we already did that. Cross delay, we did that. What else we got? Hall 2. Hall 1. Room 3. Yeah, this is where we get into the doom scrolling, right? So yeah, got a lot of fun toys. The other thing that was fun, we talked about envelope, but I didn't show you. So you get into the timbre of it, and then I think that's under level, and I think maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, attack. So regular piano, but if you wanted it to kind of
round it off, yeah.
So
Can I get that reverse tape sound?
Yeah, like I think there's a kind of a slow attack on Peter Gabriel's "In Your Eyes." It doesn't sound like there's a really attacky piano in that, but I don't know. I didn't record it. That's just what I hear. So let's see. Yeah, so that's the level in each timbre. And then the tone, this is where you choose what you want from the internal 128 library. And then that's where you name it. And then you can change the pitch, course. If you could see my fingers, you would know that they're not moving. And then, of course, the fine is
semitones. Or the sense.
Yeah.
That's to help you tune with the live people that may be in a cold room.
Yeah. The bender range. So how much do you want it to bend? So like right now, of course, which that's fun, but if you want to get kind of synthy with it, then you go down
to an octave.
To an octave, and you go. Yeah, fun stuff. Oh, the after sensitivity, which that's the other reason I really like the K2000 is it had aftertouch. And
you can keep press a little harder. And
that's right.
You get a little emotive with it.
Yeah, and the poly after sensitivity and the auto bend depth, if you needed it to do an auto bend, that's kind of where the THX, like that's how you get that to work every time, right? And then the auto bend rate, and then the detune depth, so do a lot of fun stuff with the pitch, and then vibrato, which is probably your modulation wheel. Let's see. Modulation depth. Release time. I've never really played with these because I always thought that vibrato was kind of weird. So that's triangle wave. Triangle man. Sine wave. Yeah. Square. It's hard for me to tell the difference. That's for doing the timbres, but within the patch, let's look at this setup. I think that's where you can, you give the MIDI assignment to those things. You can map if you wanted to do a control change for your timbre or your patch or whatever. This is how you map. Well, it used to be going to, patch 2, and I want it to go to patch 3. So right now they're all set to direct, but you can like tell it to, whenever it gets a certain patch control change, that this will change it to a different one. Really screw with somebody's life in there if you want to. And that's a map for all of those, right? So the patch for the timbres and rhythms and the parts, even if you needed to. If we wanted to make our LCD display, unreadable, this is how we do that. We just do that, and then we go all the way the other way, and sure enough, that's how we break it for everybody. 10 seemed to work. And then your effect, and then your master tune of the entire thing. So if you just wanted to bring your whole U-220 to something that's not 440 standard, this is where you do that.
Okay.
And then that's under the setup, and of course in the patches menus, you can rename your patch. You can change the effects, whether you want your timbres levels to be controlled. And then voice reserve. So you have 30 voices, and you can say, you know what? Part number 1, I need to always have 6, and see how it's subtracted from the 20 from the 30. Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah. And
something's gonna fall off. I want it to be.
That's right. Not this
my
one.
Main thing.
Right. So that was voice reserve. And then the MIDI, that's where we assign the channel, the receive channels for the parts. And say you had MIDI channel 1, but you wanted a upright bass in the lower part, and you wanted piano in the upper part. This is how you do a split. You just take 2 parts, and you would change the key range on those 2 parts.
Got it. That was always pretty cool for live stuff.
Yeah, and then you receive the volume and pan and hold. Yeah, so pretty straightforward stuff. And then the output, I think we already covered, is kind of the how you mix and pan and decide whether you're getting reverb or chorus. I think that kind of does it as far as that's concerned, but once you do all this work, you want to save your patch. And in order to save it, it kind of did sort of a scary thing, right? So you go to data, and then you go to data write. Well, all right, I guess that's right? And then you hit enter, and then you're like, all right, what do you want to do? Oh, I'm going to write the patch. Where are you going to write it? Well, I'm going to write it to, and this was another thing I didn't know about. Right now it's flashing right, but you can copy or exchange or copy or part copy. And I never did any of those. I just wrote, and I would come over here to from patch 1 to patch 1, and patch 3 is screwed up now, so I'm going to go ahead and make it usable. And this is one way that the brute force stuff, once you do one, doing the rest is a little easier, because you just kind of say, all right, we're going to write patch 1 to patch 3, and I'll just change little things. Hit value up. Right. And it's done. And now if I go over to patch number 3, let's see, value up, patch 2, patch 3, it'll look just like patch 1. So there you go. That's any other questions? What am I missing?
That seems pretty solid. I do know physically, so there's the front, right, but the back, it did not have the crazy Roland power cord, but it did have a attached power cable. Yeah, that was a bummer. It's 2 prongs, and it's like 7.5 feet long. Not too bad. Yeah, so it's kind of usable. Standard PC 6 foot, so you're good. Get your MIDI in, out, and through. So a funny thing about sound modules, you almost never need MIDI out unless you're going to be saving SYSEX data. Yep. And then you have a mix out and direct out 1 left right and direct out 2 left right, and of course we saw in the menus there where those are useful. So if you just plug into the left, you get a mono signal.
and then you plug in a left, right, and you get a stereo. But it had that little switch, right? That fixed variable switch.
Right there.
And so
Number 19.
You have a volume knob here on the front, and when you turn this volume knob, it will control both the phones and the mix left, right, out if that's set to variable. But if you set it to fixed, then it is full bore.
I can see where that's useful, but I almost see it as you switch it to where you want it and you never touch it again.
Yeah.
Type thing.
Yeah.
Unless you're using headphones directly to monitor it for a live performance and you want to be able to have control of that.
Yeah, I think the number of times that I've switched it back there, I can count on one hand.
Like you said, this has 30 voices, 6 parts, and a rhythm part. 64 different patches, and 128 different sounds.
Yep.
That you can use to create those patches.
That's right.
And you talked about the voice reserve.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's fun stuff.
Now, your first 2 pieces of old gear, the MC300, and now this U-220.
Yeah.
U-220. They work together.
Mm-hmm.
Last time we sequenced just using some K2000 sounds, but I think you have this hooked up with the MC300 now, right?
I do. Here, I'll do the big reveal if I can. This is just a black t-shirt, and the reason I put that up there is because, well, it's hard to see. Yeah, it's hard to see. So what I've done is I created some rhythm parts, and they sound like this. And then I recorded in bass line. And of course together that sounds like. And then I took my performance here of this bass line and I quantized it to track 2. So it's much more robotic. If you want to hear what quantized, 2 things playing at the same time, one quantized and one not, this is what it sounds like. I'm just off a little bit.
A little doubling here and there.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe that one's better. We'll stay with the quantized version, but let's add a third track. And I forgot how my thing works there for just a second. Like, do track 3. Well, there's no data there. In order to do that, you gotta go over to the track and scroll up to 3, and then hit reset to start back at the beginning of the song. And let's see, what sound do we have? That's piano. Let's do something else.
Nice.
All right. Yeah, we'll do that. Ready? 2,
Yep.
Ready, go. And then this is probably why I was a little bit better in jazz band, is because I would do that, and then I would go find my piano, and I would just solo over that. Hit shift and play, and it will just loop. And that is how you make music.
Very nice.
Elevator
So all
music.
those sounds are coming from the U-220.
Oh yeah, here, let's see if we can bring the shirt back down. The what do we call that? A flag? Bring the flag back down, and I'm gonna hit play. And and you can watch the little notes. So really, I'm just using, that's just 3 sounds, right, or 3 parts. The bass is on 2, and the electric piano is on 3, and the drums are on 10, and then just solo on 1. There you go.
Nice. Yeah, I can see how you were saying, that it was really all you felt you needed for what you're doing, especially if you're in a band scenario where you're playing keys and there's other people doing other parts and things like that.
Yeah, you don't have to. And that's one thing I've never really felt super comfortable being like, I don't want to be a one-man band, Like, I've never thought that I'm going to be a Trent Reznor or anything like that. So I enjoy playing in a band with somebody. And so when you jam and somebody's on drums, then you don't really have to worry about drums. And when somebody's playing guitar, well, you don't really have to worry about filling that hole. All you got to do is, a little bit of piano and organ and strings every once in a while.
So you had the sequencer, and this was your main sound module.
Mm-hmm.
I think you said you had an Akai was your controller, or you had a D50.
I had a D50 for a controller for a second.
And that had onboard sounds though.
It did.
Was it at the FM synthesis?
Yeah. The U-220 was kind of like bread and butter, right? That is what you need to make. If you are going to make songs without anybody else, then that's what you need to lay down things. But if you were looking for like a unique boutique sounding synthy sound, then the D50 was not multitimbral. It just did kind of one sound at a time, but you could layer, I guess, sounds within it. So you had multiple layers, and it was really kind of like this is the sound I want everybody to pay attention to in this song. D50 had one called Fantasia and one called Soundtrack, and they all, just sounded really unique and kind of fun. Made you think, wow, 80s technology. So, speaking of, here's something that you would have, let's see, if we go back to this and I go to patch number, I wanted to just go through. So patch 2, no. All right, there we go. Patch 2, okay, and then that's a synth bass. Here's, the choir.
Nice.
Useful sounds. I kind of handpicked the ones I liked. Their strings were always good. The things that I remember learning from the U-220 are like, hey, how do you make suspense in a movie? Oh, it's just the high string. And then dissonance with the half step below it. It's just that kind of slow, like, oh, Jaws was just 2 notes, and it was, just that kind of stuff. I remember learning that kind of stuff. Anyway, strings sounded good. And here's my...
Yeah, Roland always had really nice strings in my memory. That was, and I'm saying that using the JD990. So
Yeah. I always thought their strings were pretty good. Brass is, if you play it with real brass, it'd probably fill it out some more, but by itself, it's kind of, it is what it is, right? And then we had that Fantasia. That's one that you would find on the D50. And then, Shaku,
nice.
Those 80s, like, maybe we should put some sounds from the Orient.
Roland is from Japan.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah.
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah. So the
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, the D50,
So that was a D50.
had kind of those sort of fun, unique sounds in it. Oh, I know what I was going to do. I was going to go to, and then that I found the sound that, Shaku here. And I'm going to change it, the timbre, because this is sort of the way you would normally just value up, value down, but because mine are all messed up. So go in, hit edit again, I guess. And then I go to the timbre, hit enter. I'm going to go change the tone of it and doom scroll a little bit. Actually, I know where it is. It's at the very end. Drums. So if you needed another set of drums for some reason, you could turn one of your parts into drums. But here it is. Native Dance. Ready for this? You've heard this on a Phil Collins song. And it's just a loop, right? And so if I play a high key or a low key, it's a sampled loop.
Okay. And if you do two C's an octave apart, the bottom one will play once and the top will play twice. Crazy.
Yeah. So there's native drums. It had a lot of fun sounds in it. But at the time, I thought I could make any song in the world with it, because I thought this has all the sounds. This is how all songs today are made, period. With one of these, for sure. Nothing else. I was wrong. But that was my opinion at the time. And so I did have a lot of fun with it.
Very cool. And I know you had an Akai keyboard at one point.
Yeah, with all of the stuff, I got I can't remember the name, AX60 or something like that. It didn't have velocity, so being able to play soft and loud, everything was the same volume, and I just didn't use it. I used the D50 all the time because of that. And I got an Emax 2 after that, a couple years after that, which was a sampler but also had velocity, and it had some pretty great samples. It had 2 megabytes of RAM, so you could use that up pretty quick, and so I never upgraded. It was a little hard to use on that tiny little screen, but then got a K2000 after that, and somewhere in there we got a drum module D4 just to kind of with some triggers so that the drummers could do covers of like Burning Down the House by Talking Heads, and let's see what else. So we had D4, we had K2000, and then much later I helped a lady record an album called Avalanche Debris, which you cannot find anywhere. It was before streaming on the webs, and in exchange she wrote us a check that we promptly used to go buy a Roland RD-600, which is an 88 key weighted stage piano, and its piano sounds were far and above anything we'd ever heard. And the thing that sold us about it was that when you hit a sustain note on a piano of this guy, let me change back to piano. Stand by. Exit out of there. Go back to patch 1, and then that's still playing 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go. When I play if I press the key and hold it with my finger, that's the same as me pressing the sustain pedal. Same sound on this U-220. There's no difference between the two. On a real piano, when you press one key, the damper for the one key goes up. None of the other dampers on the piano go up, so all their strings are nice and muted. And you hold it, that's the sound you get. But if you hold down the sustain pedal and hit that one key, all the dampers for all of the strings and all the keys come up. And because that note is active in a world full of physics, it starts activating harmonics in all of the other strings. And there is a difference. It is very slight, but you can tell. And so when we went to go try out the RD-600, it does that. There's a different sound from when you press the sustain pedal or just holding the key. And that was impressive, and it was just delightful to play. That's one thing that I find I can't really put a word or words to it. For some reason, when I touch Roland gear, it makes you want to keep touching it. And I don't know why that is, but the moment I put a computer sequencer into my ecosystem, it started being harder for me to... I didn't have the joy like I did with the MC300, and I kept telling myself, "Oh, it's all in your head. It's all in your head. It's all in your head." But now, being much older and having played with lots of stuff, once I plug this MC300 back in and my U-220 back in and the K2000, I don't know if it's the real time of it all or how rock solid everything feels, but it's a joy to play. And it's not just nostalgia. It just makes you want to keep playing with it. Something about the way it's built brings out the creativity in you. And so...
Yeah, and once you know how to navigate it, and it seems like, spending a few minutes with it, you're 80% of the way back with remembering how it all functions.
Yeah.
You're not day one going,
Right. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. The same thing. I pulled up images of the RD-600 here.
Yeah. We bought a case for it, and the case was even bigger and heavier than it was. And, oh, man, we used to call the case with the keyboard in it when we were gigging, we called it Han Solo, because we wished it would just float around like he did in his Carbonite.
I also found this.
What is that? Oh, hey. Well, where'd you find that?
Who? Got magic fingers.
Yeah, that sure is. And so you can't find that, or
I didn't see any credits on here or anything. So,
yeah.
But still, it doesn't say where this is published. It's just saying that.
Yeah, it was about 2000 when we did
this
that.
This was out. Folk CD, 10 tracks, 39 minutes, 6 seconds.
Yeah, that was a great album. I really enjoyed recording that with her. We did it in my apartment here in Austin. It was so great to live here in Austin because, especially in that apartment back in the 2000s, because we were making noise, and never once, I lived there for 7 years, never once did we get the cops called on us. I had this piano, or a piano very much like it actually, instead of a dining room table that was in there. We would eat on it and put the lid down and use it as a table. And the great thing about, not getting the cops called on you, but also when I finally was moving out of there, the neighbors came by, and we never really talked to them that much. We knew each other, but we just kind of kept to ourselves. And the neighbors are like, "Oh no, you're moving?" I'm like, yeah, we're sorry about all the noise. And they're like, no, we loved it. We loved every time you played. And it was just kind of like, this is a great place. I'm sticking around for a while.
That's cool. So we've kind of gone through most of your gear that you've got.
Yeah.
I need to hook up this Arturia and see what's going on. And next time I'd like to let's get a guest in the door with us, and
I think so too.
Expand our horizons a bit.
Yeah.
And then we can still do. We got plenty of gear to do deep dives on like this, but we'll come back to it.
Yeah. So next time a guest, whoever it may be.
Surprise.
But I guess until then, I'm Mike Dow.
I'm Mike Emax. And this is Mike's
on Mics.
Mike's on mics. Yeah.
Right now, the U-220 is alive.
But yesterday it was alive. It was just so every time that we'd go to initialize data, it was initializing it with like stuff that like erroneous crap data, and it didn't know what to do with it. I think that's my best guess. So I just went in and hand did everything. The only reason I thought that would work is because the menus seemed to work, right? Like you could go through and like it would say, oh, you could initialize data if you want. You could ROM play if you want. You could do all these things. It was just the patches that were all messed up. So I thought, well, I kind of wonder if I can go through and like get the tones back, and maybe if it would just save my name. That was the first thing. It's like, can I go get a tone and will it save my name? And it would do that, and I still couldn't hear it. And I was like, oh, that's awkward and weird. And then I looked into all of the volumes were down. So instead of 127, they were all at 0, and they were all panned hard left. So, yeah, I think that was a symptom, and I think that was part of the erroneous data. So I knew SYSEX data was a thing, and I always thought, this is worthless. My U-220 is rock solid. I can turn it off and turn it back on. I will never need SYSEX data. Stupid. Why would they even come up with it? And also, in the same vein, I would look at I'd look at the manual. I'd pull up a manual, and in the back of the manual, there's a big bunch of waste of paper that I thought, I was like, why the hell are you even printing this? This is so stupid. Here, I'll go to it. This thing, right? Why are you telling me that number 1 is A piano 1? Why are you telling me to, like, I know I have 128, like, these are never going away. What kind of an idiot? Like, why would you even do any of this? This is such a waste of paper. Stupid. Well, it turns out that these things are not infallible, I guess. The U-220, they're not perfect. They can wander off into the weeds with, I guess, their memory.
Was that a result of your battery dying, you think?
It probably was, which, by the way, so if you want to get into a U-220, all you got to do is remove 4 screws on this side, 3 screws on the back, 4 screws on the other side. See, I already took those out over there. And then you pop it open. Crap, where's the battery? Well, you have to kind of look under this flappy cable here. Under that flappy cable is your standard CR2032 watch battery. I went and replaced that, and so I stopped getting the battery is dead error. I thought, well, we'll just initialize all the settings, and it did bad things to us. So, like, typically when you go through your patches, if I press up, goes to Mics on Mics 2, and it had a lot of really cool patches in here, right? 64 of them. In fact, I'll just go to the last one. Yeah, this is what I remember. 64 patches. But look at that name. Can you see that name?
Up top?
Yeah, with the note a capital P,
Oh.
whatever that is. Big block,
no
nothing.
PR block, nothing.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that is supposed to look more like mics on mics, right?
Okay.
And here's patch number 2. Mics on mics 2, right? So that's what it's supposed to look like. So that was a clue. And the timbres also were kind of jacked up. So do you want me to show you what broken looks like and how I fixed it? That way, like, somebody else who has a U-220 who got married and then got divorced and left their U-220 in the garage for 20 years could also do this. All right.
So was it per patch or was it for everything?
Kind of everything, right? So,
Okay.
and I'll show you.
How does one resolve that?
All right, so let's go to a broken patch. So here's a broken patch. I have MIDI channel 111111 run, right? And whenever I play anything in here, like, nothing works. The first thing I did was I went to a part. Yeah, piano right there. And I said, let's edit that part. I'm going to edit my patch and put all these parts on different MIDI channels. So you go to your part. And then you say, you are going to be, we're on part 1. You need to be MIDI channel 1. And then I can jump over to part 2. You need to be MIDI channel 2. Part 3, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So all this stuff was working. So now if I exit out of here and I look at this down here, I've just assigned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And for some reason my rhythm part is MIDI channel 32, which doesn't exist. It's impossible.
Yeah, let's say that's making a lot of nonsense.
So if I go into edit and I say, hey, let's edit my patch, let's edit my rhythm part, and then I go to, and its level is 0, and rhythm parts only go up to, I guess this one also goes up to 127. And it has a boost. Cool. All right. Interesting. Yeah, but if I go to a different drum patch, it's all fucked up. I got drum patch R1 working again, so exit out of that. Yeah, it was doing stuff like that, right? That's a weird noise, right? So I'm going to go ahead and save this patch, the whole patch. Yep, right, patch 3 to 3. Value up, completed. Exit out of here and go down and up. All right, so I went from back down to patch 2 and back up to patch 3. That's how I knew things were kind of jacked up. When I finally got a sound, I was like, okay, wait a second. Why is this sound, like, why is it on sustain forever? And it was because, let me go to a part, but like the attack and the decay and the sustain were all whacked out. And then the level here was 0. Nothing would work. It would receive the MIDI channel and the note, and it would just be like, no, it's playing, but it's playing with 0 volume. That was some of the erroneous value, and I went in and changed all those by hand, and they started working.
Okay, so that seemed like a tedious process.
Yeah. So
are you using the values in the back of the book? Is that what?
Yes. So I was like, where is my my bass, right? So I'll pull that back up. One of my favorite sounds was the upright bass. And I'm like, oh, where's the acoustic bass? Where's that? And I found it. It was after the slap basses. It was 53. And so I was like, I don't want to make acoustic bass 2. I don't want to just make things from scratch. So I went through and I put, one slap bass, one A guitar, one bell, one E piano, one A piano, where they're supposed to be.
And if you just use these parameters, it'll bring back the factory? Is that? It
won't bring back the factory. I mean, it is like, so the sounds never went away. Right, the timbres never went away. Let me go to a functioning patch. So mics on mics. There's my piano. But the stuff from the factory had like different attacks and decays and sustains and stuff, right? So I don't know what those are. They may be in the manual. I haven't gotten that far, but basically, yeah, all the stuff that came from the factory were like, what was this reverb setting? What was this patch's delay or chorus or any of that stuff? That's like still unknown to me. But here's a PDF from Roland.
Okay.
And they're like, okay, you got a U-220? Good for you. You are going to need a MIDI cable, a sequencer, and an update file. And you plug in and do these things to your U-220. And then you use this standard old U-220 original.MIDI file. Here, let me blow that up for you.
They provided that?
Yeah, from the Roland website. The little PDF and that. And if I push that out SYSEX, then it should all go back to complete factory defaults.
And have you done that?
So I need a working... So this is a MIDI file that is on my laptop. And when the MC300 was made, there were no such things as laptops, especially not the Mac OS X. So trying to get this MIDI file out of my computer onto that sequencer is probably never going to happen.
I've got a USB floppy drive.
But the floppy on the MC300 is hang on a second. It's not PC. It's not Mac. It's its own thing. So it wouldn't be able to recognize that format. Okay, that's fine. Let's get an I/O. That's easy. Just USB I/O. I have one right here on the table. Plugged it in. You need a program to push out the SYSEX. So you can either use Pro Tools or Logic or something like that. I do not have any of those. So I don't have a sequencing software to push it out.
Is your K2000 not have a SYSEX recorder?
You know what? That is actually a good idea. I forgot that my K2000
that takes PC discs.
PC discs, yeah, and it will read MIDI files, and so I could push that into the out
of the MIDI into the U-220.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could do that. That's one way to do it. The other way to do it is I read online, or I saw on YouTube online, there's a piece of free software, but it's Windows only, and it is very much it's a SYSEX, like that's all it does. And
SYSEX recorder, publisher, whatever.
Mm-hmm. And that's all it does. And so you can give it MIDI files, you can give it sys files, and you say what output, what MIDI output did you want to push this to? And as long as you know the secret handshake to your particular module or keyboard, then as soon as you start pushing it, your U-220 or your D50 or whatever should start like, hey, I'm receiving. So, and that PDF
is this the MIDI SYSEX transfer utility from Microsoft?
I didn't even know that was a thing. Maybe that would work. No, this was
Patchman SYSEX librarian. There's a lot.
Yeah, the one that was all over YouTube was some guy's name, Domes or something like that. I know I'm getting it wrong, but it was like Domes SYSEX Send or something.
Okay. Well, there's a lot, and I'm sure there's one for Apple somewhere. There has to be.
Yeah, so that's the thing about Mac OS that's a little bit their hacker community is not really, the Windows boxes were always like, you can write an executable and share it easily, but that's also a good way to get a virus. So you know, I drink the Mac Kool-Aid. I do Windows also, but mainly if I'm going to be doing production, I drink a lot of Mac Kool-Aid. So
I was just scrolling, like I put in Windows PC SysEX recorder, and there's a Roland Clan forums, and it says U220 SysEX. I cannot say that word today. SysEX, MIDI Windows 10. And it's like I got a lot of sound, so it's people telling them how to do it.
Yeah, it's out
Very
there.
cool.
Yeah. So
all right, well that's cool. So,
but if
good
let's say
that you got it running, got the battery swap, got it running, figured out what the initialized problem was, and now you kind of have a thing of how to restore it.
Yeah. And that's the deal is, let's say if you didn't have access to the SYSEX file or any of the you just couldn't get it into running into the same problems that I'm running into, which is you just can't get it in there, and you want to be able to use it. Well, you just kind of brute force go through the menus and name things, and you can get it running like I just did. So
and get the volume up from 0.
Yeah, and it's weird. Like when I say weird, I mean it would say things like volume -2, you know, and it doesn't go down there. Or
that's and if it did, that's not going to let you hear anything.
Or whenever I was renaming and it had all the notes and stuff up there, I wanted to rename it something that was useful. I'd press value up a couple times and value down a couple times, and nothing would happen. And eventually, it was kind of like it broke it free. It had to take that memory register and say, no, write some zeros and ones here. There you go. You know. And then
okay.
So I don't know, just age and time and all the things that make it weird.